DreAllDay.com.
What up, everybody? Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. Welcome to the Q&A. This is Q&A number 61. This is a weekly staple here on this channel. So just to get to a couple house cleaning things before we get into the Q&A, and I'll explain how it works. First thing is all merchandise, WOYG.net. I moved everything over to the Hoop Handbook store. So if you were looking for that stuff, or even if you weren't, and you happen to be on hoophandbook.com, you're going to see all the merchandise. That's the hats, the t-shirts, everything else is under the merchandise section on hoophandbook.com. If you don't see it just yet, it will be there. We're in the process of moving everything over right now. So we're going to have everything under one roof as far as the merchandise, the programs, all of that will be under hoophandbook.com. Other thing that I was going to say, it was something else I was going to say. I can't remember what it was. So when I remember, I'll say it. But what I will tell you is that we're going to get into this Q&A. For those of you who are new here, or those of you who are old, don't know how the Q&A works. Very simple. What I do is go through the questions from the previous week's Q&A. So what I'm doing right now is reading all the questions and comments from Q&A number 60. I'm going to read them. I'm going to respond to them. And everything that I'm recording right now will become Q&A number 61, which is the video that you're watching right now. And if any of you have a question or a comment, you leave it in the comments to this video down there, and when I respond to all of those next week, that becomes Q&A number 62. So this basically regenerates itself, this whole Q&A thing. So if nobody posts a question, then there won't be a Q&A. So as long as y'all keep coming with good quality questions and getting me to give some answers that are thought-provoking and useful for more than just that one person, but for everybody, we're gonna keep this Q&A thing going. So let's get right into it. Without further ado, as I can't even remember what the other announcement that I was going to make, I can't even remember what it was. So let's get right into it. First question is from Low Key P. He says, I know the jump manual gives you a guaranteed 9 inches if you do it properly. And he says he has a 37-inch vertical. And he says, do you, no matter what, get the 9 inches no matter what your vertical is already? And he says, for example, if LeBron James did it, will he be able to get above 50 inches? Well, the first thing is, I don't know what LeBron James's vertical is, so if 9 inches would put him above 50, I don't know. But let's not talk about LeBron James, because LeBron James is not the person asking the question. So we'll just deal with you, Low Key P. You say your vertical is 37 inches. If you have no experience using the jump manual, the guarantee of the program is not 9 inches. The guarantee is 10 inches. It's 10 inches in 12 weeks if you follow the program as it tells you to do it. So all you had to do to get your answer to your hypothetical question, Low Key, is we can make it a real life question by you getting the jump manual at DreAllDay.com/jump. Use that link, you get free Hoop Handbook programs, which I have listed at DreAllDay.com/jump higher. And then you can find out for yourself if he gets it. And there's a guarantee, so you really don't have anything to lose. So all you got to do is go do it, and you can find out for yourself, and we won't have to worry about examples or hypotheticals because we'll have a real thing. Next question. Cameron Bird says, what's your favorite conditioning drill? I don't have a favorite conditioning drill. Conditioning is not something I would say I get excited and look forward to. But if you're talking about conditioning to get in shape to play basketball, then if I was to tell a player, if somebody said what's the conditioning drill they could do, or the best one, the best or the one that I would tell anyone to do that I know will get them in the right shape conditioning wise is suicides. Suicides are the best conditioning drill that I would say. I wouldn't say necessarily use the word favorite, but a basic drill that anyone can do. Everyone knows how it works. Suicides. Next question. Homan Rao says, what's the most important part of basketball for a player's success? What do you think about shooting? Well, Homan, there is no one part of basketball that is most important for success. You need several different skills to be good at the game of basketball. And that's what makes the game a challenge for some people, because there's no one thing that guarantees that you'll be successful. You have to have several different skills to be good at the game, because if it was just one thing that made everyone successful at basketball, then all of us would just work on that one thing over and over again forever, and then everybody would be good. But the reality is, a lot of people who play basketball are not good at basketball because they don't have the discipline and they don't put in the effort to master all the skills necessary, or even be adequate at all the skills necessary. As far as shooting goes, what do I think of it? I mean, shooting is an aspect of the game. If you have a more specific question about shooting, you can ask it, but just to ask me what do I think about shooting, it's part of the game. That's what I think about it. Next question. Joel Areola says, when am I coming back to New York City? I don't know yet. If I come back to New York and it's something that I would like meet up with people or something that I would announce, I'll let you know. But if I come back, if I come on business or something that's not really where I'm gonna have time to meet up with people or talk to people or interact much socially, social media wise, then I probably wouldn't say anything. But the next time I do that it is something where I interact, I will let everyone know. It'll probably be on my other social networks like a Twitter or Instagram, because I can do something more instantaneously on those sites than I do on YouTube. And the other thing I was going to say is a lot of people were asking me about the All Dre All Day daily video channel. I had another YouTube channel where I was putting out these little short thoughts, idea videos every single day. I did it like every day for maybe a year and change. And someone asked me, hey, what happened to those videos? What I did was move all of that over to my Instagram. So if you aren't following me on Instagram, my Instagram is at Dre Baldwin. So follow me on Instagram and you'll see those daily. They're like daily thoughts, daily motivations. Daily motivation is the hashtag I'm using. So go follow me on Instagram at Dre Baldwin and you can see those. Of course, I'm gonna post other stuff too, maybe some basketball stuff and other things, but the daily videos, I've moved that over to Instagram, so follow me there. That was the other thing that I was gonna say. Next question, Eddie Muyanga says, I'm in the same situation as you, where my team is amazing and talented, but all I do is ride the bench. What should I do? Well, Eddie, I don't know what situation you're talking about is the same as me. I don't think I've been in that exact situation. I guess maybe when I was talking about the Sunny Hill thing, but I wasn't on the team that long. What do I think you should do? Your team is amazing and talented, but all you do is ride the bench. What you should do is improve your game so that you can start getting in the game and stop riding the bench. Next question is the 2K Boss says, would I say that shooting is the most important component on offense? No, I would not say that. I would say the most important component on offense is the ability to put the ball in the basket. So that could be a shot from outside. It could be a layup. If you want to consider a layup shooting, then I guess then yeah. But a layup, a floater, anything that makes the ball go in the basket, because the object of offense is for the ball to go in the basket. So whatever you need to do to make it go in, that's the most important thing on offense, because that's the only objective. Next question, TJ D-Liz says, what are some of the craziest things people have told you related to basketball, such as hours of practice, averages, etc.? I don't know, TJ. Let's go through the rest of this Q&A and see if anybody says anything crazy. Next question, Harris Kaus says, how do you work on your inner game mentality? Well, there's a couple things you can do, Harris. You can read my book, The Mirror of Motivation. My other book is called The Mental Handbook. Got another book called The Super You and another book called Buy a Game. You can read all of those books. You can get them on iBooks or Amazon. I got hard copies and I have the digital copies on both iBooks and Amazon. On Amazon, you can get the hard copy also. So those are the ways you can work on your mental game. You can also go to the playlist. Actually, there's a link on my website, dreallday.com. There's a page that says skills. And under that skills page, there's a link that says the mental game. And I have a bunch of videos about the mental game, which you can watch right there. Another thing I'm going to be doing very soon, for the end of the year, I'm going to put together a book of all the how-tos. How to deal with coaches that you don't like, how to deal with family members and parents who don't support, how to deal with teammates who don't work hard, how to transfer your practice ability to your game ability, how to deal with being nervous before a game, how to get in the mental proper zone before a tryout or a big game or some opportunity where you're playing against people you don't know. I'm gonna take all the how-tos that people ask me and I'm gonna put them all into one book so you have them all in one space. That'll be coming before the end of 2015. No set date just yet, but that is coming. Next question. MB Ike says, does playing on concrete mess up your joints? Well, here's the thing about playing on concrete and your joints. Your joints are like your ankles, your knees, your back, even up to your shoulders and everything within your spine. Playing on concrete does not necessarily mess up your joints. There's no one-size-fits-all answer to that question, because understand this, that the difference between playing indoors and outdoors is very simple. On some indoor surfaces, not all of them, but some of them, they have what you call a spring-loaded floor, which means when you take a step on the floor, especially a hard step such as sprinting or jumping or landing from a jump, the floor will sink just a little bit. It gives you a little bit of give, and what that does when it gives, it takes some stress off of your joints. And when you step on that same hard step on a surface that does not give, such as concrete, or some of you even know, every one of you has probably played on an indoor facility that is just as hard as concrete. The ground is just as hard as concrete. It ain't no difference. The only difference is The building has walls and a ceiling, so you don't have to worry about the weather. But the concrete does not give at all. When you step on concrete, there's no give, so that hard step, or when you jump, or when you land from a jump, all of that force is being absorbed by your joints, your ankles, your knees, your back. So it can slowly work on those areas and kind of deteriorate you maybe quicker than playing indoors does. But again, that's not necessarily what's going to happen to you, because every single individual has a different body. We all know that the exact same stimulus could hit two different people at the exact same time, but one person has a negative reaction to it and the other person is like it didn't even happen. They don't even feel it. So there is no one answer to that playing outside will definitely mess you up and playing indoors will make you last longer. That's not necessarily true. The thing is this, playing sports in general will mess up your joints faster than not playing sports. The human body is not designed to play basketball. It's not designed to sprint. It's not designed to run and jump for basketball. Let me say that. Maybe it might be designed for sprinting. I can't really say that. But playing football, baseball, basketball, hockey, the human body was not made to do any of that stuff. So if you're playing a sport, it's going to quote unquote mess up your joints faster than if you did not play a sport. That's just the simple fact that the body was not made to do the stuff that we make it do as athletes. We're pushing it to its limits physically when we play a sport. So playing a sport, no matter where you play it, is going to wear your joints down faster than if you didn't play at all. Next question. Austin Bellinger says, do you play NBA 2K15? If so, what's your favorite team to play with? No, I do not play any video games whatsoever. Next question. KB Titan says, he watched a video that I made and he says, girls are complicated. And then he says, how do you deal with it? Because this girl he asked out, she kept confusing him and making it more complicated. Then he asked another question. When you go up against friends and other people, his mentality is to kill. When he plays against his friends, his mentality is to kill. He always gets angry and has this Kevin Garnett style. And then he asked, should he always have that with him every game he plays, like against anyone? It doesn't matter who it is. Well, KB, nobody can tell you how to think. I'm not here to tell anyone how they need to think or what mentality they need to have when they play in a game. You need to figure out what works best for you. And when you find that, you work on duplicating it and being able to make yourself get into that mental state on call. And if that works for you, you keep doing it. If it's not working, then you make adjustments. Next question is Jacob Gutierrez says, do you have to shoot with your elbow in? What if you develop the jump shot without it? Well, the thing about shooting, Jacob, is the only purpose of shooting is for the ball to go in the basket, something I mentioned earlier in the video. The only object of having the ball on offense is for you to somehow, some way get the ball to go in the basket. As long as it's within the rules of the game, whatever way you shoot, no matter what it looks like, if you have a shot that looks picture perfect and it's just like XYZ player who you like and it doesn't go in, then it don't matter. And if the shot looks terrible or ugly according to some observer who's watching the game and it goes in, it's worth 2 points or 3 points or whatever number of points you get for that shot. So the only object is for the ball to go in. If your elbow's in or out, if it goes in, it's good. If it doesn't go in, it's bad. Next question. These Make Your Fan says, Dre, when you look back at your college career, do you feel you could have walked onto a D1 team? Well, it depends. If I had not gone to the schools that I went to, if I had enrolled in a college as a student that happened to have a D1 sports program, and that was my situation, that would have been my aim, to walk onto that basketball team. But whatever school I had ended up going to, it didn't matter. I knew I was going to get on the basketball team one way or another. So we'll never really know, since I didn't go to a D1 school. I went to a Division III school, but I was recruited there. So that's all we can go off of. Next question. Top Notch Sports says, if you could choose 3 present NBA players you could play one-on-one against, which 3 would you choose? Okay, I'll go with Kobe, Kevin Durant, and James Harden. Next question. KCI Oktala says, how many reps should I do with the shooting, scoring moves, and driving scoring moves? He's referring to videos from playlists on my channel. If you want to know, KCI, how many reps to do with any exercise, you can go to hoophandbook.com, where I have scoring moves for shooters programs, and I also have driving moves programs where it tells you exactly what to do, how to do it, when to do it, how many to do it, when to stop, and what to do next, and what days to do it on. Otherwise, you got the vids and you can do it as you wish. Next question. DeMarcus says, Dre, if you could bring anyone back to life to chill with, someone you aren't related to, who would it be and why? I don't really have an answer for that question. I'd deal with somebody who's alive. Next question. Harvinder Kuar says, how do you get a scholarship in basketball? Well, you get a scholarship in basketball by a coach offering you one. You don't just get one. Somebody has to offer you a scholarship. They're not something you go buy at the store. You don't obtain one. Somebody has to be an offer made to you by the person who has the power to make that offer, which is the head coach of a program. So, or maybe one of their assistants. So you would have to earn that offer from that coach who sees you as someone who can help their program. So that's how you get it. Next question. Gabriel Guerrero says, in middle school, I feel I'm the best player in the school, but I'm not starting. I feel like I could dominate the game, but I don't have the mentality. How can I get that killer mentality? This also leads to what high school I want to go to, and the question I have is, does it matter what school you go to get recruited? Okay, well, the first part is he says he's not starting. He feels like he could dominate, but he doesn't have the mentality. But he also says he feels he's the best player. Well, Gabriel, what is it that you have achieved that makes you feel you're the best player? Because what you do in practice when you're by yourself, or even in practice with the team, that doesn't make you the best player. What makes you the best player is what you do when it's time to perform, when the lights come on in the actual games. So if there's someone who's performing better than you in the games, which I'm assuming there is, since you're not starting and you say you don't have the mentality to dominate, which means you're not doing it, the person who is doing it, they're a better player than you. So first of all, we gotta address the situation from where it is, not where you want it to be. But first, we gotta address it from where it's at. Then we focus on where you want it to be. So where it is you're not the best player in the school, and you know that you're not because you don't have a performance that reflects that. So we gotta focus on, first of all, where we're at. You can't lie to yourself about where you're at, because then we can't get to where we want to go. So the first point is, you're not the best player in the school because you haven't performed like the best player. So you want to become the best player, that's fine. So now to get there, you say you think the difference is you need the mentality. To get the mentality, what you need to do first of all is figure out what kind of game you want to have, and then figure out what type of mentality works best for you, because there is no one mentality that makes every single human being, if they had that mentality, they would just dominate life. It doesn't work like that. Some humans work best off maybe anger. Somebody might work best when they're sad. Somebody else might work best when they're just completely blank and no emotion at all. Somebody else might work best when they're just happy and very joyful. So you have to find a way that works best for you. There is no one way that makes you automatically dominate just because it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. Same thing I said with the indoor and outdoor question. So to get the killer mentality, you have to first of all define what the killer mentality is, because just saying I want a killer mentality, I don't know how that defines for you. When somebody says a killer mentality, that can mean a lot of different things depending on who it's coming from. So you first of all have to define what that is. Once you know what it is, then you got to take the necessary steps, whatever it takes, to put yourself in that mindset, and then work on recreating it on call so that you can call on it whenever you need when it's time to perform. And then he says he wants to go to high school and play. He says, does it matter what high school to go to get recruited? No, it doesn't matter. There are ways that it could matter, because let's say you go to a school that has a reputation for producing good players, that school will probably get more attention from more people who can recruit. But the flip side to that is, if you're not good and you don't make the basketball team, then who cares that the recruiters are coming to the game because you're sitting in the crowd, or if you're sitting at the end of the bench, or if you're not barely getting in the game at all because all the players on that team are better than you. So it's not, again, it's a question that is not a one-size-fits-all thing. And just if you go to a school that's very prestigious in basketball, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get recruited. Because first of all, you got to make the team. Second of all, you got to perform when you get on the court. And if you go to a school that's not as well known, it might be easier, quote unquote, for you to make the basketball team, but maybe there might not be as many scouts who naturally come there. But the bottom line is this: if you perform at a high level, then the attention will find you. So you don't need to go somewhere thinking I need to go to where the attention is. You need to go anywhere and perform. If you have that killer mentality and you play like the best player in the school that you claim that you are, then you don't have to worry about what school to go to. They will be coming to you. You won't have to go to them. Next question. The Got Game says people ask dumb questions. Sometimes. Next question. eZiggy1000 says, do I hate it when someone's tall like 6'6" and can't dunk? If they're not going to use their height, they should give it to me. Well, Easy, no, I don't really think about that, because I'm tall. I'm 6'4", so when I was younger, I was a little bit taller than probably a lot of kids my age. And somebody would say something like that, like, oh, you that tall and you can't dunk. Like, if I was your height, I'd be doing X, Y, Z. Well, here's the thing, Ziggy. If you could dunk, you yourself, you wouldn't care about someone who couldn't dunk. Because just think about it this way. If you're better than somebody or something, then you probably wouldn't take any time out of your day or waste any thought energy on coming up with something negative to say about somebody you already better than. Because if you're better than them, you don't have to say nothing about them. The proof is right there in front of everybody that you're better than that person. So if you're talking negative about somebody else, then it probably shows that you probably see the exact same thing you're saying about him. You probably see the same thing in yourself. So if you were able to dunk, you wouldn't care about a 6'6" guy who couldn't dunk. Next question. John Newman says, Dre, I play with a really good team and we're not bad, but if I stay there, I might not be able to get to the next step, which for him is to be scouted. And he doesn't know if he wants to leave his team and go to a better team. He doesn't know. By the way, I'm pretty good is what he says. All right, well, John, well, everybody says they're pretty good. So that really is of no consequence to me, you telling me that you're good. The thing is this. The next step in basketball is not for you to be scouted. So you have a bad mental map right now. Being scouted doesn't do anything. If you want to get to the next step in basketball, that means you got to go from whatever level you're playing at to playing at a level that's higher. Being scouted has nothing to do with that. Now, if you're in middle school, you enroll in high school and you go try out for the team. Now you're at the next level. That has nothing to do with being scouted. If you're in high school, you enroll in a college and then you go try out and you make the team. That has nothing to do with being scouted. If you're in college, you want to go pro, you can check out my new book, The Overseas Basketball Blueprint, also available on iBooks and Amazon. You can go to an exposure camp, you prove yourself on the court, and then you can get a job playing basketball. That has nothing to do with being scouted. Well, I guess maybe it's being scouted if there's somebody watching you, like a coach or something like that. He's not necessarily a scout. So it depends on how you define the word scout. But you get the point of what I'm saying is being scouted is not the next step. If a whole bunch of people scout you and nobody recruits you, then do you consider that taking the next step? No, because you're still in the exact same spot and you didn't gain anything. So the next step is to take the level you're playing at now and be playing at a level that's higher than that. So that's the next step. And he says he's not sure if he should go to a different school. Well, it's not about the school, John. It's about your performance. If you were performing at a high level, you would be getting what you want. So if you're not being scouted right now, that is because what you're doing is not worthy of the attention of the people who scout. So when your performance becomes worthy of that attention, the attention will come to you. You don't have to go looking for it. Next, Bobby Cameron says, I watched Kobe Bryant's documentary, Kobe's Muse. What did I think? I did watch the Kobe's Muse documentary. I think it was a good documentary. It wasn't earth-shattering or anything. I didn't consider it to be spectacular. I think it was a good documentary. I would not watch it again. I think it was good. It wasn't a bad thing, but it wasn't nothing outstanding to me. Next question. Bobby Cameron says he heard that somebody said to be a great shooter you had to have your elbow tucked in, but what about James Harden? Well, I don't know anything about James Harden. I haven't studied his shooting form. I'm not really concerned about how he shoots. All I know is the results are James Harden's doing pretty damn good. I think he's leading the NBA in scoring, so those are my thoughts. Derek Rose said, I realize that you're right that I shouldn't be worrying about anyone else. I definitely wouldn't say those things. Some things he said to me, he said he knows he wouldn't say those to the coach. So I'm glad you see the light, Derek. Good point. Maniac Mizuto says, how long should I do the face down 2-inch glute and hamstring lifts for? I don't know what you're referring to, Maniac Mizuto, so I can't answer that question. I would need some actual context. Emmanuel Palma says, Dre, I'm in 6th grade and I got cut off the basketball team this year. He plays for another team. He's been waiting to take his game and improve his weak areas so next year he can make the team. But the problem is the workouts and programs that he searched for are all from trainers that can help him, but they all cost money. And he says his parents can't afford the cost. Do I have any tips? And he has passion for the game and he wants to make it to the NBA. First of all, Emmanuel, you're in 6th grade, so let's put the NBA to the side for now. Let's focus on 6th grade and maybe 7th grade, and that's it. So you got to be good where you're at first before you can be good at the next place. So first of all, you got to do good at the job you got, which is playing basketball in 6th grade. So you're like 12 years old. So the NBA is not something you need to concern yourself with, because if you're not good in 6th grade and 7th grade, then basketball is not even going to make it to the 8th grade. So let's focus on where we're at. So you need to get a program. He says the only way he can get better is by buying a program that costs money. So first of all, that's incorrect, because you're on the channel of a man who's posted over 4,000 videos here, and all of them are free. So if you want to get better, whatever areas you want to improve, since you know you have some weak areas you want to get better at, every single one of them, I guarantee I've covered at least 50 times over on this channel, and it won't cost you any money. So we can already throw out the I need money argument. We could throw that all out the window right now, because that's not true. Now let's just say that you did need some money and you did want to buy a program. How do you make some money? So you're 12 years old, so you're not legally eligible to work. Like, you can't go apply at McDonald's because you're not old enough. How can you make some money? I talked about this in a video on my Dre All Day channel. That's youtube.com/Dre All Day, where you can make money no matter what your age. And I'll give a basic example of how this works. Let's say you don't have no money, you're completely broke. What you want to do is go to a Walmart, a Sam's Club, a Target, a Costco, something like that, and you want to buy in bulk. Now you don't have any money, so go to your parents and say, Mom, let me borrow $20 and I'll give you 20 back. I'll give the 20 back to you next week. I'll give it back to you in 7 days. So you get the 20, this is what you do. You go to, let's say, a Walmart, since you don't need a card or a membership to go to Walmart. You buy a case of Gatorades, let's say. A case of Gatorades would be like $8. There's 24 Gatorades in there. You sell the entire case, each one $1 a piece. So you made $24 on a $9 investment. You grossed $24 on a $9 investment, so you made $15 of profit. So now you have a $15 profit. All you do is go right back to Walmart, buy another case, and sell those 24 again. So let's see, you started with $20, you spent $9, so that means you had 11 left, you made 15, so you got $26. Now you go buy another case again, so now you back down to, what's that, $17. You sell that 24, so now you got $41. So now you give your $20 back to your mom, you still got $21 in your pocket. So now you just made yourself 21 bucks. Go there and you keep doing this. Every time you buy a case and sell it off, you flipped it. We call that flipping. So flipping is basically when you make an investment and then you sell it and you make some sort of profit, even if you make $1. So you just keep flipping cases over and over and over again. And maybe you're somewhere cold where people don't need Gatorade. So instead of buying Gatorade, you buy bags of chips and pretzels. You know, my bags of chips and pretzels, you can buy little packs of crackers or candy. Skittles, Starbursts, Snickers, things like that, Butterfingers, whatever, fruit snacks, whatever you want. Set your own price, whatever you want to sell them for, because whatever you buy in bulk for, if you sell those individually, don't sell anything for less than $1. Keep it a whole number. So $1, $2, $3, no change. You don't want any quarters. You don't want to be carrying around change, just dollars. Sell those. So if you buy a big bulk box of candy, so let's say there's a bunch of packs of Skittles and some Starbursts, it'll be like 20 packs in there. You pay like $8 for it. So you sell each one for $1 a piece. You made a $12 profit. You just keep doing that over and over again. And you're in 6th grade. I've been in 6th grade before. When I was in 6th grade, a lot of kids like to eat candy. And if somebody's sitting right next to me in class with a bag of candy and they selling it for $1 a piece, even if I don't want to eat candy, like right now there ain't no candy in my house. But if somebody was sitting right next to me with a bag of candy saying I'm selling these for $1, I might just buy one just because it's sitting right there. It's just human impulse. So the kids in your school will buy candy from you. Or the kids in your neighborhood, hell, maybe your mom and your dad will buy candy from you. Anybody will buy it. Ask people. If you want to be a salesperson, you got to make the ask for the sale. So even if nobody's coming to you and offering to buy, you go to them and ask them, like, say, hey, I'm raising funds. I'm doing a fundraiser. Can you buy some candy for me? And most people are not even going to ask you what the funds are being raised for. Just say, hey, I'm doing a fundraiser. Can you buy some candy from me? They're $1 a piece. I guarantee you there are people who will buy it without even asking you what you're raising funds for. And you're not lying, because you are raising funds. You're raising funds for yourself. So they say, what you doing a fundraiser for? Say, for myself. I need to make some money. They'll probably laugh and buy more from you just because you had the heart to approach them and ask them to buy something. That's an easy way you can start your own sales business right now. So now you got your money handled, you got the videos handled, and now all you got to do is work on your game. Next question. John Newman says, oh, John, you already asked me a question. We do one question apiece here. Mike Payne says, I was thinking logically that the body is always moving forward in our daily lives and is not always moving backwards or side to side. And defense in basketball, I guess he's referring to, is set up in a way that the body moves side to sides and backwards. Do I think that an offensive player always has an advantage over any defensive player? He hopes that he didn't lose me with this question. Well, Mike, no, you didn't lose me. I completely understand the question. And the answer is yes. An offensive player has the advantage in basketball, and that's why defense is hard work. And that's why a lot of players are not good at playing defense. Defense requires a lot of effort. The fact is, a defensive player can't respond until an offensive player takes an action. So an offensive player has the, what's the word I'm looking for? I forget the word I'm looking for. The offensive player has the advantage because they make a move and then the defense has to react. And there are some ways the defensive player, if you play very aggressively, you might be able to crowd the space of an offensive player or take away what their strengths are and force them into something that you know to be their weakness, or you think might be their weakness, or that you might discover to be their weakness. But in general, the offensive player has the advantage, which is why offense is a lot easier and more fun than defense, and why some players can get themselves onto the court by playing very hard defense, even if they lack offensive talent, because coaches know that it's hard to find a player who puts value into playing defense, or equal or greater value into playing defense than they put into playing offense. Those players are few and far between. Next question. Naheed Rahman says, Dre, what do you like to do on your free time when you're not playing ball or training? I like to read, and I also like to write. Next question. Seuss Carey says, what do I do if my team doesn't pass? Because I'm performing and I play at least 3/4 of each game, but I have to get my own rebounds and steals because my team doesn't pass. So what should I do? Well, the main thing you should do, Sasukuri, is focus on your performance and not focus on what everybody else is not doing. You need to focus on what you need to do and not what they need to do. But another thing that you could do is open your mouth, use your communication skills, and speak to your teammates. So if you feel like the fact that they're not passing is an issue, instead of saying it to me, why don't you say it to the people that you have to play with? They're the ones that are causing the issue, right? So open your mouth and say something to them. What's stopping you from doing that? And if you're on a team, that means you probably have a coach. You can also go to the coach and, again, use your communication skills and say, Coach, this is an issue that I'm seeing within the team. Can we do something about this? So you have the ability to communicate. Use it. Next question. Yoel Gide says, Dre, I forgot to ask you something on the diet and nutrition videos about using muscle milk. And he said he has a fast metabolism and he wants to gain muscle to get bigger for basketball. He's 6'2" and weighs 140 pounds and he's in 10th grade. He's been reading up on it and he sees good reviews and not many bad reviews about muscle milk. So he's wondering if I've ever used it. Do I know someone who has, and how did they think it was? Did it work? Did it increase or decrease their energy, etc.? Well, first of all, you're in 10th grade, so I'm assuming you're about 15 to 17, somewhere in that range. I don't think you need to be taking any type of dietary supplements. If you want to get bigger for basketball, there's only two things you need to do. You need to increase the amount of calories you're taking into your body. Protein would be a good way to do that because you want to build muscle. You don't want to build fat. You want to build muscle. And then you need to strength train so that you can actually get bigger muscles and have more strength to play basketball. Those are only two things you need to do. You don't need to take muscle milk. Muscle milk will add calories and it will add protein, but you can do it more organically, so to speak, by putting actual food in your body instead of putting muscle milk in your body. At your age, I don't think you need to be taking any supplements whatsoever. Just eat more food and lift more weights. Next question. Oh, and actually he also asked, do I know anyone who's taken it or have I taken it? I have not taken muscle milk. I've never tasted it ever in my life. I do know that it's very popular. I do see people taking it. I probably know people who've taken it, but we've never had a conversation about muscle milk. So I couldn't tell you if anybody got results from it. Another thing you have to consider when you're talking about taking a supplement, just taking the supplement is not the only thing that will produce results. Because if I start taking muscle milk right now, right, and I start lifting weights, then who's to say whether it was the muscle milk or the weightlifting that caused the results? I might have got the same results without the muscle milk if I had just started lifting weights or lifting more weights or heavier weights or changing my program, whatever it was I was doing. Maybe I start getting an extra hour of sleep per day. Maybe I cut out one food and start eating another one. All of those variables can factor into what my results were. And then he says, did it work? Did taking muscle milk work for certain people? Listen, food does not work. Food is just food. Muscle milk is a food that you put into your body. It doesn't do anything. If you buy a case of muscle milk and you sit it down on your kitchen table and you go on vacation for a month and you come back, the muscle milk's still gonna be sitting right there. It's not gonna do anything. So muscle milk does not work. People work. So when you put the food in your body, if you change the work that you're doing, you might get results, and it might not have a damn thing to do with the muscle milk. So understand it is not the food that's going to make you bigger for basketball. It's you and the things that you're doing. So if you do the things that I just told you, which is increase the amount of food you're putting in your body, good food, and strength train, you'll get bigger for basketball with or without muscle milk. Next question. David DeLucci says, I'm going to high school next year. I don't feel like the best player in my grade, but I want to make varsity. He plays guard, but he's noticed that he has horrible handles. Well, that's an interesting thing for you to notice. And then he says he can beat all his friends in 1 or 2 dribble games, but he doesn't have moves to break down defenders. And when he tries to do a move, it's very slow. And he says, how can you fix shooting for him? Because he shoots a little above his head, so he's not good there. But he wants to get ready for high school. He needs help with his all-around game. He says speed and handles. He doesn't have moves to break down a defender in his shooting. Well, the good thing is, David, you came to the right place, because at hoophandbook.com we got a series of programs called Scoring Moves for Shooters. So we also got a series of programs called Scoring Moves. So those are both scoring for outside shooting and for driving to the basket, which are the 2 things you said you need work on. And we also have here on YouTube Scoring Moves for Shooters and Driving Moves playlists, which cover about 1,000 videos. Each one of them is a different drill. So all the information that you need is right here. So you came to the right place, you asked the right question. Now you got the information, so now you can go and do the work. Next question. R3N1 says, what are your thoughts on fiction books? Do you read them, and how would you compare them to non-fiction books as far as gaining knowledge and building a brain? Well, there's no building of a brain. Your brain is going to be your brain whether you do anything or not. As far as fiction, I don't read fiction books, but there's nothing wrong with reading fiction. If you like reading fiction, or you heard about some fiction that you want to read, by all means, pick up the book and read it. One thing that I do know is that studies have been done that shows that people who go to, when people get out of school, whatever amount of school they go to, whether that be college, postgraduate, high school, middle school, whatever, once people get done with their formal education, a majority of people, when I say majority, I mean more than half, they never read another book in their life after they're finished with school. Because you know, in school, sometimes you gotta read a book, right? But after school, a lot of people never read another book for the rest of their lives. So if you pick up a book and start reading it, no matter what it is, you've already put yourself ahead of the curve of a whole lot of people, the majority of people on earth, because a lot of people just don't read. So if you want to read a fiction book, pick it up, start reading. Next question. YellNats1234 says, Dre, what are some things that you did to get better at public speaking? Well, one thing that I did, YellNats, is do a Q&A video for 60 weeks in a row where I'm speaking for an hour pretty much off the top of my head with no edits and no stopping, no changing the video or anything like that. So this Q&A is actually one thing that helps me with speaking, because I'm speaking off the top. I don't know what is going to be asked of me, so I'm reading the question and now I got to come up with a response right there on the spot. So even if I fumble over a word or mess up or something, I just keep going. And that's one thing that helps me with public speaking, is to be a public speaker. It doesn't mean that you have to be perfect. You want to be polished, but no human being is going to be perfect every single time. But you want to be able to think on your feet. You got to be quick on your toes to be able to respond to something that somebody asks you. And it's actually fun for me to be able to respond to this stuff off the top, because it's a whole different thing if somebody says to me, Dre, can you give a speech to these people in 2 weeks? So I got 2 weeks to prepare a speech, and I'm gonna prepare it. I'm gonna pretty much know everything that I'm gonna say before I get there if I got time to prepare. But if it's another thing if somebody says, all right, Dre, come get up on the mic, and we just gonna let people come up and just ask you questions, and you just gotta respond on the spot. I have no idea what anybody's gonna say to me, so I gotta be able to respond to it immediately. And doing the Q&A actually helps me with that. It helps me with communication, and I have learned, I know this for a fact, and you'll probably read this if you read at all about leadership, is that one of the most important qualities of being a leader is the ability to communicate very clearly and confidently to an audience, whether that be an audience of one person or audience of 50 people. You got to be able to say what's on your mind, express it in a way that everyone can understand it and that everyone believes that you believe what's coming out of your mouth. So it's very important. It's not necessarily that any of you need to be a public speaker, but if you want to be taken seriously in whatever professions you go into, you want to be looked at as a leader in whatever organizations, groups, or teams you're a member of, you have to be able to express yourself. You have to be able to communicate clearly with other people. So speaking is very important. Good question. Amazing one says, do you think you're a better player now than when you were younger? And do you think you jump higher now than when you were younger? Do I think I'm a better player? Yes. Do I think I jump higher? No. Travis says, Dre, how do I space the floor in pickup games when I'm a small forward with an unreliable jumper? And if you were on a team, would you prefer having bigs who can quote unquote space the floor or bigs who excel in posting up, kind of like Zach Randolph or LaMarcus Aldridge? Well, here's the thing, Travis. One player doesn't space the floor. Spacing the floor is a response that the defense does. So when we say such and such team spaces the floor, they space the floor because the defense responds in a certain way that the defense spreads out. It's not what the offense does that spreads the floor. It's the response of the defense that makes the floor spread, because they have to respond to a certain player's ability. So for example, if we look at the Atlanta Hawks, they have Kyle Korver. People say he spaces the floor. What he does is, since he's such a great shooter, when a team's playing against him, they say, all right, well, we got to have somebody following him around the perimeter at all times, because if he gets it out there and he's open, he's going to shoot it, and there's a pretty good chance it's going to go in. So we got to make sure we keep somebody on that guy, and that takes that defender away from being near the paint, which gives the floor more space. So the other four guys on the team, for the Hawks and for the teams on defense, there's more space for everybody else to operate because they have that one quote-unquote floor spacer. So to answer your question, Travis, if you have an unreliable jump shot, then you're not going to be useful in spacing the floor, because the defense, if they know your jump shot's unreliable, they're going to play off of you. They're going to play closer to the basket to take away the higher percentage shot, which is the closer to the basket. It's just a higher probability that a shot will go in no matter who the player is. They're going to play closer to the basket to take the easier shot away, quote unquote, so that, and leave you outside to shoot because your shot's unreliable. So if you want to be a person who is responsible for spacing out the defense, then you have to develop a reliable jump shot, and you already know what you need to do to get that. You need to work on your game, work on your shot, and that doesn't take there's no special tricks to it. You just got to get in there, get in position of the shots that you find yourself having that you're not making, and keep practicing it until you start making it. And then he says, but I prefer to play with bigs who space the floor or bigs who excel in posting up, like Zach and LaMarcus. Well, the thing about Zach and LaMarcus is actually both of those guys are pretty good at both. Both of them can post up and both of them can shoot from the outside. So I wouldn't say that I'm choosing either or from those two guys. I would say that the best thing to have is two guys who are capable of both, like Zach Randolph and LaMarcus Aldridge, because then they're interchangeable. So if you got two guys and one of them's only good in the post with his back to the basket and the other one's only good when he's facing up and shooting jumpers, then if they get switched into different positions, like the jump shooter has his back to the basket, the defense doesn't care because they know he's not good at it. Or if the guy who can only play back to the basket is out at the top of the key, then it's like, all right, we don't have to worry about him because we know he can't shoot. Now, there are exceptions to the rule. Like Shaquille O'Neal wasn't the guy who could shoot threes, but he was so dominant with his back to the basket, it didn't matter, right? And then you have people who are really good outside shooters. Let's say somebody like Dirk Nowitzki. He's a big, but he can hit three-pointers all day. He can post up, but he's not a guy who's going to like bully you down into the post and just lay you up. He's a guy who's going to dribble a little bit, and he uses that to create space for what essentially becomes a jump shot, like the turnarounds, the fadeaways, and the one-leg stuff. Me, in general, just to generally answer the question, I'd rather have two guys who can do both, who can shoot from the outside and bang down low with their back to the basket, so that we have as many options as possible. Next question. Onin Only says, Dre, I want to play small forward when I get to college, but it seems like I don't have the height for it because I'm 6 feet tall and he wants to be a point guard, but he's average at point guard. How does he play that position? Good, because the point guards that he watches are Steph Curry and Russell Westbrook. How do you be good enough to get a spot on a D1 school like the University of Arizona? He wants to go with all that talent and compete. All right, well, first of all, Onan, at 6 feet tall, you're right. You're not going to play small forward in college. At that size, no. You'll probably be playing the guard position in college if you go on to play college basketball. Then he says he wants to be a point guard, but he's average. How do you play? And the people he follows are Steph Curry and Russell Westbrook. All right, well, first of all, Onan, I'm going to have to tell you to put the Steph Curry and Russell Westbrook things out of your mind, because Steph Curry and Russell Westbrook, not because I don't think you have potential, but because there's only one Steph Curry in the world and there's only one Russell Westbrook. And you don't have to worry about being the second. You can be the first of whoever you are. And both of those guys are one of a kind talents. They have one of a kind abilities and gifts that nobody else has. It's not necessarily about you personally, but just nobody has those gifts. Those players are who they are. So you need to focus on being who you are. So don't try to mold your game after them. Mold your game after you. First thing you need to decide, you said you want to be a good point guard. What does that mean? When you say a good point guard, what skills necessarily are you saying? What skills do you want to have in your game? Just saying I want to be good is not specific enough, and that gives you nothing to work on. So if you said I want to be a good point guard, I say, all right, let's go to a court. All right, go do the things that a good point guard does. And you'd be standing there looking dumb because there's no way to quantify what a good point guard does. So if you said something better would be, okay, I want to have a reliable outside shot off the dribble. I want to be able to drive to the basket and finish over a helping defender. I want to be able to make this 10-foot bank shot off the dribble going to my right. Or I want to be able to do a spin move and make a little short bunny shot going to my left. Those are the things that you need to figure out. What do you want your game to be? What skills do you want to have in your game, and start working on developing those skills. Now, if you go to my channel, just click on my name right down there, wherever it is right under this video, and you click in the little search box. Whatever skills it is you decided you want to add to your game, you search those in that box, and those drills will come up, the corresponding drills that'll help you develop those skills. But there is no, I want to be a good point guard. That doesn't really give you anything to work with. So you have to figure out what it is you want to have in your game. That's the most important thing. And besides the drills that I have here on YouTube, we got programs at hoophandbook.com. And since you mentioned those two guys, there's an NBA signature workout program. One for Steph Curry, there's another one for Russell Westbrook. And those links are actually right down there in the video description. So you can click on those and take a look at those programs for yourself, see what they entail, and see if those skills are the skills you're actually talking about adding to your game. If they are, then you should get those programs. If they're not, then look at the other 51 other NBA signature workout programs we have available, because there literally are 53 NBA signature workout programs at hoophandbook.com right now. And then the other thing he says is, how do you be good enough to get a spot on a D1 college? Well, it's simple. The only way to be good enough to get a spot on the team is to be within the range of what that coach wants. So if that coach, whoever he is, says, I want 15 guys on this team, that means you need to be one of the best 15 people trying out for the team. Simple as that. There is no one thing that you need to be able to do. There's no one skill. There's, all right, if you could do this, you'll make a D1 team. It doesn't work like that, because every D1 team, however many there are, each one of them has a coach. And each one of those coaches is a different human being, and each one of them has different things they're looking for. Now, one of them might only have one roster spot because he got 14 guys or whatever number of spots he's going to have on his roster. He might have X number of people that he already knows he wants and have one empty spot. So you had to be that one guy. Another coach might only have 5 guys he knows he wants, and he might have 10 spots where he says, all right, these 10 are wide open. Now you got to be one of the 10. That even in either situation, the things that that coach might be looking for can be different. One coach might say, all right, well, I need 10 guys, but all of them need to be over 6'8". And if you 6 feet, you just might not fit the bill. You might not get your opportunity at that school. And again, this is not something that you can predict, because you don't know till you get into the situation. Another coach might say, all right, well, I need 4 new players, but 3 of them got to be X, they had to have X attribute. And if you don't have that attribute, then actually instead of 4 spots, you're actually only going for 1, because you don't have the attribute he wants in the other 3 spots. So there is no one size fits all to what a coach is looking for or what you have to be able to do to make a D1 program. Basketball does not work like that. Every coach runs their program as they see fit. They can do whatever they want. They can pick whoever they want to have, because they're the ones in charge. So what the best thing you can do is try to reach out to a coach and just ask, The worst thing that happens is they ignore you, or they just won't answer your question, or they tell you something that you don't like, but at least you know for a fact. But there is no one way that I can say, all right, well, if you do this, it's guaranteed you'll make a program. That's not how basketball works. Next question. 3 questions remaining. C. Irons. He says he's going to Scouts Focus Camp. I don't know what that is, but okay. And he says, I was wondering if it's really true that you don't have to score every point to stand out. And he says, when you talk about passing, playing defense, scoring, and rebounding, what's the most quote-unquote important to a coach or scout for someone in 8th grade? Well, see, Irons, it doesn't matter what grade you're in, because basketball is basketball no matter your age. And it is true that you don't have to score every point to stand out, and that's simply true for the fact that there are 10 people on a basketball court, and there are 5 people on offense at any given time, and there's only one basketball, so all 5 of you can't score at the same time. And I'm sure you watch basketball, C. Irons, so you know that there are basketball players who are considered good who don't score a whole lot of points. If you look at the first person I'm thinking of is Joakim Noah, Chicago Bulls. He's not the first, second, or third option on offense for his team, but he's considered a really good player. He's a great defender. He hustles on offense. He can put the ball in the basket when he gets an opportunity. He's not a guy they're going to run too many plays for. He's a good passer. He's a great defender. He hustles. He's part of the heart and soul of that team. So there are things that he does that any coach will recognize this guy's a good player. And every coach, most coaches, let me say, coaches who know basketball, which I consider most of them to know since they're in a coaching position. Not everybody, of course. But a coach knows that there's only one basketball. A coach knows that not everybody can score at the exact same time. And any coach would know that there are things that make a player valuable besides scoring, since there's only one ball. So if one guy's shooting, then it got to be another guy maybe getting in position to rebound, or somebody might have to set a screen for that guy, or somebody got to pass the ball to that guy so he can actually have it so he can score. And guess what? Half of the game of basketball, you're on defense. So even if you're the greatest scorer in the world, you still got to play the other 50% of the game, which is playing defense. So defense is a very important part, because what happens when coaches watch players on defense, they find out how much that player actually cares. Because when they don't have a ball, some players just start loafing. They look at defense as just the rest that they get to take in between chances to score points. You don't want to put yourself in that position where coaches are looking at you that way. You want to put yourself in a position where coaches say, all right, well, C. Irons, he's serious about the game. He might be able to score X number. It might be a lot, might be a little. But this guy works hard on defense, and understand, see, that half the game is defense. So if you play very good defense, you hustle on defense, you put the effort forth, then you already have done 50% of the sport. Now you just got to get the other half. You could be terrible on offense and work really, really hard on defense. That can get you on a basketball team. I'm sure many of you watching this video have seen that happen, right? You've seen somebody who didn't have no offensive game at all, but they work real hard on defense, and the coach loves them, right, over everybody. And you might be the best offensive player in the world, but if you dog it on defense, or you loafing around on defense, the coach gets angry at you, like, hey, work hard on defense. So you can make your mark just by playing that half of the game harder than everybody else. And that's completely an effort thing. That's not a skill thing. That's not a talent thing. That's not a size thing. That's completely effort. Next question. 2 questions left. Ryan Comito says, I'm 14. I've been following an athletic training program for basketball. And he says he was doing a workout. He noticed that the workouts only have plyometrics and different variations of cleans and squats. Should he be worried that there's no upper body isolation stuff like bench presses and curls? He doesn't want to have muscular imbalances. All right, well, first of all, Ryan, there are no muscular imbalances because you're not doing bench presses and curls. Bench presses and curls have no place in the sport of basketball if you actually think about it. Now, me personally, I do bench press, and I will do curls every now and then, but it's not because I think it's going to necessarily make me better at basketball. It's just because I want to improve overall strength, and I don't want to overdo it. I don't want my arms to be bulging out like some weightlifter guy who's in there every single day. You know, the guys in there with the chalk, and they got their little proteins with them in the bag, and they take up a whole section of the weight room area, them and their friends doing all their lifts and yelling every time they lift. I'm not trying to be like that, because that's going to hinder my ability to play basketball. It's going to hinder my range of motion. You don't need to do any bench pressing or curling to play basketball. Tim Grover just said a couple weeks ago in that article I read that he wrote. He said if you're laying on your back, because when you think about bench pressing, you're laying on your back and pressing something up. Tim Grover said if you're ever laying on your back and pushing up in a game of basketball, that means you need either a referee to come help you out, or B, you need an ambulance. So there's no point in the game of basketball where you're laying on your back and pushing. What point in the game would you ever be doing that? That doesn't even make any sense. So you don't need to do bench press to be good at basketball at all. I'm sure all of you know the legend about Kevin Durant. When he first came to the NBA, he went to the combine. They told him to bench press 185 pounds. He couldn't do it because he didn't have that strength. I'm sure he can do it now, but the point is Kevin Durant was pretty damn good. He won Rookie of the Year the same year that he couldn't bench press 185 pounds, and he probably couldn't curl weight that was too heavy either at the time. Now, I'm sure he can curl heavier weights now. I'm sure he probably lifts more weights now than he does then. But he's not a guy who's in there just tossing around crazy amounts of weight. Now, there are some basketball players who do. I like to lift weights personally, and it's not necessarily just basketball. I just like to lift weights. Now, I like the way it makes my body look, and I like the way it makes me feel. And there's some basketball players who are the same. Let's say Dwight Howard's a guy. You can just tell by looking at certain guys that they like to lift weights. And there's other guys you can look at, you tell that they don't really lift that much. And it doesn't necessarily make you a better player or a worse player. Basketball is a game of legs. There's a lot of leg movement. You're changing direction. You're moving side to side. You're moving forward. You're moving backward. You're stopping. You're starting. You're jumping vertically. You might be jumping horizontally or diagonally. It's more in the lower body than it is in the upper body, actually. So you don't need to do a lot of upper body isolation exercises at all to be good at the game of basketball. So to answer your question, Ryan, no, you should not be concerned with that at all because it has no place in the sport. The next question, last question, Christian Stevens says, thanks for answering my question about scoring for my team. He scored 16 points in the second half of his game. So congratulations, Christian. And he says, his question is, what's my favorite basketball shoe to wear? He's in the market for a new shoe. Well, I'll give you the two favorite shoes that I have that I play in currently would be the Jordan 29 and the LeBron Zoom Soldier 8. And my three favorite of all time in order would be number one, the Nike Shox BB4s, the Vince Carters. The number two would be the Nike Hyperdunk, the original Hyperdunk, not the 2014, the original joints from 2008. And number three would be the Jordan 13s, the patent leather Jordans. So that's it. Those are all the questions, everybody. Thank you for coming through with the questions. Y'all are supplying me with good questions, good stuff to talk about. And I like the fact y'all asking me stuff that will not only help you, but will help other people who are listening. It's probably not your intention, but they're good questions. So keep coming with quality questions. Think these things out. We do have one question per person, so make sure you only post them one. And that's it. I've been talking for an hour. I need some water. I need some food. That's it. Thank you for the questions, everybody. Work on your game. Dre all day. Thanks for checking out this video. Make sure you follow all my top content up here. Follow me on all your favorite social networks right over here. And make sure you are subscribed to catch all the new content I put on this channel every single day. Work on your game.